You're watching Rapid MMA, and this is the breakdown of MacDonald versus Thompson. I'm surprised at the amount of people who are picking Thompson to win. Not because I think Thompson is bad. I think he's a great fighter, and this is MMA, anything can happen. However, the reasons I've been hearing behind Thompson winning have been questionable and don't really have any base. Reasons like Rory isn't focused because of his contract, or he's taken too much damage. I also heard people trying to compare Johnny Hendricks to Rory MacDonald, and which one is the higher caliber fighter. Rory is an entirely different stylistic matchup to Thompson, and is much more dangerous. Yes, Rory has taken a lot of damage, but there's no showing effects. There might be in this upcoming fight, but to this date, we haven't seen any of those effects yet in the cage. In my opinion, this fight is much more about the actual fight than the intangibles outside the cage. These fighters are focused on their training and how to defeat one another. So let's get started.
Now I'm gonna throw three jabs. Right. Don't let me hit him. Now notice the speed of the first two. That's 1, 2. Okay, now here's the third one. Don't let me hit it. Ready? Yeah. How the hell? It's just the way I'm throwing it.
Both Rory and Stephen have this style of attack. One of Rory's best weapons is the jab, which sets up basically anything else in his arsenal. Same goes for Stephen, but Stephen is much more tricky because his kicks work in a similar fashion. It's difficult to anticipate when he's attacking and where. Stephen's entire style is to confuse his opponents by switching stances, arms low to bait the opponent, and attacking at all levels with the kicks. Wonderboy works excellent primarily in kickboxing range. He relies heavily on using his kicks to maintain distance, pick his opponents apart, and get knockouts. He lands nearly 5 strikes per minute, jabbing and kicking his opponents. He's not the most accurate, but he doesn't need to be. His style doesn't require every strike to land, since some of it is setups. His takedown defense is at 80%, and although this is certainly a good stat, his takedown defense has more to do with distance management than the actual ability to fend off the takedown. When Thompson finally faces a fighter who's just as good or better than him at distance management and can wrestle as well, then we'll begin to see how good Thompson's takedown defense really is. Sure, he defended one takedown from Hendricks, but Hendricks doesn't nearly have the striking ability Thompson does, and therefore he was able to see from a mile away that Hendricks was barreling in for a takedown. Against Thompson, it's about shooting at the right time and the right place. I think in this fight we're really going to see what Thompson is made of because in my opinion his opponents are simply not on his level when it comes to striking. Hendricks, Ellenberger, Cote, Brown, Stidgen, none of these guys fought Thompson in the correct range, staying much too far on the outside and also backing straight out when Thompson comes forward. They allow Thompson to dictate the range, and I don't see that being so successful in this fight. Rory MacDonald is 26 years old, he's been fighting top level competition, he has a great jab, great understanding of range, he's adaptable and constantly improving. Most important, he's well rounded and with the experience of training with Thompson before. Firas Zahabi, Rory MacDonald's coach, and Roy, they're going to come up with a thorough game plan. A game plan that allows MacDonald to mix it up with Thompson on the feet, but also bring the fight wherever they feel they'll have the advantage. This is Ellenberger against Thompson. Ellenberger had one successful exchange in this fight, but it's very important. Here we see Ellenberger jabbing his way inside. Now, it's not pretty, he pays for not using head movement, but he can now step into boxing range. Now we can see Ellenberger slipping the left and coming over the top with a right that drops Thompson. Point being, dictate the range, dictate the fight. Unfortunately, Ellenberger doesn't get inside his range again, eventually is KO'd later in this fight. Robert Whittaker laid out a blueprint on how to pressure Thompson. Thompson in his southpaw stance, notice how all his weight is on the back leg. This is for a number of reasons, but mostly when standing southpaw, his lead leg is now the power kick, and he'll use it to create distance with the side kicks. Whittaker is anticipating Thompson to circle to Whittaker's right or Thompson's left and throw a head kick to catch him. Thompson is slick with his side-to-side movement and slips just out of the way of the kick. Smart on Whittaker's part and a veteran move on Thompson. Now watch as Thompson is right up against the cage, perfect for Whittaker, and he throws a beautiful jab that nicks Thompson. As we've seen plenty of times before, Thompson blitzes forward when he doesn't have space, which is what happened against Ellenberger. Whittaker lands another left hand, but unfortunately backs completely off afterwards. Look at what is wide open. Whittaker could have threw the counter right hand had he anticipated this. Thompson is even angling off to his left. He could have walked directly into the right hand. Not only that, but Thompson is completely out of his fighting stance. All his weight forward, completely square, and his chin wide open. Thompson gets out safely, he's now off the cage, has the distance back, and essentially back in control. Here's another blitz from Thompson. Similar attack, blitz forward, cut off to the left. Now we begin to see a pattern with Thompson. Pressure and close quarters is key. Alright, let's talk about takedowns. Take a look at this takedown from Hendricks, which by the way, he also found success early with the right hand in boxing range, and Thompson against the fence. We can see Thompson has worked on his takedown defense, using the cage and posting on his arm, eventually working his way back up. Eliminate the cage, eliminate the leverage. One more thing to point out before we wrap up is the jab of Rory MacDonald. I think this will be the most important aspect of this fight because it'll mask the footwork, which in turn affects distance. Like I've said before, if you control the distance, then you control the fight. Let's refer back to the Whitaker fight. Whitaker showed us an excellent step and jab that caught Thompson several times. However, Whitaker played the range game and didn't keep it close quarters, nor did he try for takedowns, something I expect Rory to do. Let's remember something very important about Rory. He's only 26 years old and fought elite level competition his entire career. He gave Carlos Condit a run for his money at age 20. He lands 4 significant strikes per minute with 63% striking defense. MacDonald and his coach Firas Zahabi are tacticians. Rory has a different approach in every fight. Carlos Condit, Diaz, Pyle, BJ Penn, Robbie Lawler twice, Damian Maia, Tarek Safadine, Tyron Woodley. For Rory to compete as well as he did against these elite competitors at this young of an age is incredible. Rory is a true student of the game, constantly evolving, recognizes patterns, has a sharp jab and a sharp right hand. His kickboxing may not be on the level of Thompson's, but it's still good. In closing, I think Stephen Thompson is very tricky, good with his distance, and is improving as a mixed martial artist. Keep in mind, when he does those karate blitzes, he's not always wide open for the right hand, and it's very dangerous to stay in the pocket, but that's what he needs to do. If Rory decides to be too cocky and play the kickboxing game for too long, it's possible he loses. However, Rory is cold and calculated. He can approach this fight in many different ways, whereas Thompson has the same plan each time. Sure, he's initiated grappling exchanges before, but that would be a mistake against Rory because Rory is much better in the scrambles than Thompson. TriStar is well known for shutting down styles, and I see that being the case here. Thompson has shown time and time again huge holes when pressured against the cage, exposing his chin, being out of stance. I see Rory taking advantage of this, especially with the right hand. I see Rory pushing a high tempo in this fight, using all the pressure of a Matt Brown, but without the sloppiness. I see Rory implementing a strong jab, cutting off the cage, and forcing Stephen to blitz. My choice is Rory MacDonald by whichever way he chooses, but I think it will be by TKO, and I'm going to say in the first round. Thank you for watching. Please leave your thoughts below, like this video if you enjoyed the content, and don't forget to subscribe.